So I just want to spend some time talking about, my journey and the reason why Season Center was so critical. My mom and I came home one day from an appointment and our house was on fire. I won't go into the details of all that, but coming out of that, what happened was my dad took his own life, and he took my brother's as well. And this was in May of 1997. I felt so alone. My mom set me up with a child psychologist and then a child psychiatrist. And every time I went to the office, I felt nothing. I felt numb. I wasn't getting anything out of those appointments. It wasn't allowing me to grieve in the way that I needed to. At school, I felt like everything was written on my forehead. I was like the murder-suicide girl. So I spent a lot of time in my guidance counselor's office. And one day she handed me a pamphlet. She said, check these guys out. And it was for the Season Center for Grieving Children. And I went to the first meeting and no word of a lie, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. There were other teens there that had, witnessed their mom losing their mom, a lot of drunk drivers who had taken siblings away. It was the first time that I felt heard, that I felt understood, that I wasn't the weird kid. I wasn't alone. The impact of the Season Center was everything for me. And it was so powerful. And I would go to these meetings every other week. And it was like my favorite place to be because suddenly everybody in the room understood. No one really talked about mental health in the 90s. No one really talked about trauma and the impacts. And I still remember vividly having this moment where I thought, you are the only one in control of your life. And so it's up to you to pick up the pieces and keep going. And it was kind of the Season Center and everything that the Season Center exposed me to that allowed me to come to that realization. So that's a little bit about my story and, why Season Center is just so close to my heart. I'll take you through a little bit of the business stuff that I work on. So as mentioned, I'm the author of Let That Stuff Go. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear in this meeting, but it's an unfiltered book on how to find more peace and happiness in the everyday. So I did in 2010, I kind of hit a peak point of stress with my corporate career. And I did something drastic. I moved to California. I took a year sabbatical. I sold my house. And my husband and I went off to California to study ancient wisdom and mindfulness and meditation. And it was really interesting because a lot of the stuff from Seasons came up that year. And I'm seeing this in a lot of my clients in the pandemic. Since the pandemic, it's like there's no distractions because I completely unplugged. Suddenly I didn't have my BlackBerry. I didn't have my work email. And in all the quiet and all the isolation, stuff starts to come up. And so that year I spent a lot of time healing, and, work, with the ancient wisdom, also kind of working through my loss and my grief. So I came back from that and nobody was really talking about mindfulness and meditation. This was 2011. And so I went back into corporate. And then in 2014, I lost my mom to Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS. And I had a moment where I said, okay, here's my second big lesson in life, that I need to just do what I'm most passionate about. And, and that is to give people hope through adversity. So with that, I founded my company, Pure Minds, and co-wrote this book. There's a chapter on forgiveness where I talked about the journey to forgive my dad and letting go of all of the pain and the hurt. And so the book's done well. It's an international bestseller. We just launched in the US last January, and it's one of the top self-help books in US airports, which is really great. So my role is to go into companies and talk about mental health, to break the walls down, to address it with the executives, to address it with the leaders, and to make sure that they're addressing it with their teams. Because I do think it's the responsibility of companies to, acknowledge that mental health is a thing. And through the grief process, mindfulness and meditation have really, really helped me stay grounded, stay alert, move through my emotions, acknowledge my emotions. And that's what I help my clients do. My workshops are kind of the main thing that I do. I've got my book, and then I also partnered with a kids company, About, And they are all about mental health awareness and social justice change. I'm also a podcast host for them for a podcast called It's Okay to Ask, where kids ask questions and kids answer them. Again, I'm a really, really big advocate of kids and youth mental health. I know in Canada, youth depression and anxiety has gone up. Youth suicide has doubled. And I think the fact that, 25% goes back to the Season Center and the whole full circle story, because I do open my presentations talking about how, I got into mindfulness and meditation because of the loss of my dad and brother. This organization has made the biggest impact and difference in my life. I don't know where I would have been as a teenager if I didn't have it. So it's critical work. And I'm so grateful for all of it.